Right the way through history, we can see all of the different ways that composers have chosen to organise their musical ideas into forms. And in fact, one of the most simple examples of form that we can find is something called binary form. Binary form. And it's basically as simple as a piece of music could be. As the name indicates, there's two main sections to a piece in binary form, and they help take us on something of a musical journey that starts off in a certain place. So we'll imagine this is the start of the music and gets us to the end. And over the course of the piece, a certain pattern of things will happen. Binary form is most commonly used by composers writing music before the year 1750. After that, some slightly more sophisticated forms of music became more popular, but for things like early keyboard sonatas or other very simple instrumental pieces, binary form was a really nice way of shaping your ideas. When we talk about form, often we use letters to describe the various musical sections that happen as a piece unfolds, and as binary suggests, binary normally is about 2, so binary digits are either 0 or 1. Here, binary means that we've got two main sections of the music, and we tend to talk about them as section A and section B, and that's how we can tell them apart. And so binary form tends to involve two very simple sections of music, and that might be a group of melodies and harmonies and ideas brought together into a kind of logical section of music. And so if this is our musical composition that goes from a beginning over here to an end over here, we've said that binary form is likely to be in two sections. So we can divide our piece of music up into two and say, well, this bit here is the A section, and we involve some musical ideas, and then we'll get to a certain point in the music where this first section seems to come to an end, and then we'll get this thing here, which is the B section, which will involve a slightly different set of musical ideas. Now you might be wondering, well, how on earth do I know when section A has finished and section B has started? What should I be expecting to hear in the music? Well, a lot of times in classical music forms, and this is an example of a really simple early classical music form, we tend to look for modulation or changing key in music to give us an indication when a section has changed. Classical music composers often choose to modulate or change key over the course of the piece because they feel that gives the piece a sense of structure and a sense of journey. We tend to start in a particular key, move away from that key, and come back to the original home key again. And that tends to be the foundation of almost all classical music forms, and we'll see it coming back again and again as we look at multiple forms over the course of the next few videos. But here in this binary form, it's basically as simple as it could be. We're going to imagine that we start the piece in the key of F major, and we're going to call that 1. So we'll say that this piece starts in F, and at the beginning our melodies and our harmonies are all basically in the key of F. What we would expect by the time we reach the end of the A section is to have reached a very conclusive cadence into the key of C major, which is the dominant key. This is assuming that this piece is in a major key. There are slight variations when we're in a minor key, and we may look at those in due course, but in a very simple piece of binary form music, we'd expect the music to modulate over the course of the A section to reach the dominant. And essentially that gives us a really good indication that we've got to the central point of the piece. And we've done something of a little journey. So we've gone from F and we've modulated to the dominant. The B section essentially does the same journey but in reverse. So we'll start very confidently in the dominant, so here we'll be in C, and over the course of the music unfolding we'll eventually modulate back and arrive and finish on chord 1, and this would of course be F again. And so this is the purpose of binary form, if you like, is to give the music a sense of a journey. We managed to shape the music in the first section, in the A section, as a journey from the tonic chord, modulating ultimately to the dominant, where we would arrive in this example on C, and the B section, the main formal purpose of that section is to modulate back and return us to our home tonality of F major, and that will give us a sense of journey and a sense of resolution. Now, even if you're not feeling totally confident that you'd be able to hear when music had modulated to a different key, it's actually still really easy to work out where the sections of a piece are, because it turns out that in almost all performances of a piece of music in binary form, the A and B sections are almost always repeated. So if you hear that the music has restarted, if you like, and you're hearing the same music that you heard at the beginning repeated for a second time, chances are what's happened is that the performer has got to a double bar in the music, and this would be true if you were performing the music for yourself, and they would see that there was a repeat indicated. And so what they would do then is go back and play the A section for a second time. Convention says that we can also actually start to embellish the A section for the second time when we repeat it. They might add slightly different ornamentation or slightly different melodic details than were there in the first playing. Once they reach the end of the A section for the second time, that's when normally they would in fact go and play the B section. And so you can expect to hear the B section again played twice. So once they reach the end of the music for the first time, normally a composer would indicate that the performer is to go back and play that B section again. And so while I said that the music on the page, and we'll see this on the piece of music if we look at the score, would just have two sections, it tends to be that we'd actually hear A, B, B. And it still gives us this sort of binary shape, but it makes it much easier for us to identify which section is the A section and when we've moved on to the B section. It turns out that actually there's lots of forms that really take this principle and develop it. So let's now go and have a look at a slight variation of this, which is known as rounded binary form.